Hi, this is a video response to John Henry's Ted Nugent rant video. The other day, I needed to learn a Nugent song, and I usually get on YouTube to learn some licks if I have to, if I can't have immediate access to them. And I saw your video, and I found it very interesting. And first of all, let me say I don't agree with everything that Ted Nugent says or does either. He said a lot of things I don't agree with, but and I'm not affiliated with any political deal, so I vote, but I don't belong to any side. Apparently you do, though, and I'd like to go through some of the things that you said in your video, because I think it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black here, you know. Yeah, Nugent said some pretty bad things, but man, the hate that spewed out of your mouth on that video was unbelievable, and I tried to give you a fair shake. But let's go through some of the things that you said, John Henry. Let's see. I love the way that you try to discount his career. If you're in America, you've probably heard of him. Let me tell you something, John Henry. Ted Nugent is a worldwide celebrity. He's a legendary rock guitarist. As much as you hate to admit that, he is. Okay? And I find that interesting that you try to rewrite history like that. You know, oh, he had a minor hit back in the day. Well, I don't know about you, but on my greatest hits album, there's more than one song. So that's, you know, what it is, what it is. But let's go through what you said. You said Nirvana was nuking his career. That is laughable. That is completely laughable. And any musician that's worth a grain of salt knows that you can't compare Kurt Cobain's guitar playing to Ted Nugent's guitar playing. There is no comparison. That's a silly thing to say. You know, especially after he was out with the damn Yankees at the time, you know, which was a pretty good band that he was in with Tommy Shaw and the rest of them. So that alone makes you look like, you know, I just found that interesting that you would belittle him, like try to deny that he's as famous as he is, and it makes you come off looking like you're a little jealous that you never got that famous. But and then let's see, you also said that he has no grace, no funk, and no soul. Well, that tells me that you've never listened to the Scream Dream album, because there's a song on there called Terminus El Dorado that has plenty of funk and plenty of soul. You have to listen to it. And then you go off on the older man and the younger woman thing, and how you agree with that, but you think that he's a hypocrite because he denies it. Well, let me ask you something, John Henry. If you had a daughter, a teenage daughter, would you mind if I dated her? Get real. And then you talk about you don't hunt, but you enjoy venison. Well, to me, talking about hunting and that you don't hunt is sort of like talking politics when you don't vote. If you don't vote, you have no reason to even talk. So that nails that one right in the bud right there. But I thought it was curious. You quoted somebody, one of these professional hunters you quoted, but you never gave us his name. You never gave us the source. Now see, when I investigate something, I back it up with facts. Documented fact. You know. So, whatever. And then you go on and say he doesn't care about the environment. Well, that's BS, and anybody can point that out. And then you go on about the Confederate flag shirt that he wore at Perry's deal, and how this, and you get real interesting ideas on the Civil War that you got. But let me inform you of something. Maybe you had to pick up an old history book before they were changed and learn something, because if you think the Civil War was all about slavery, you're extremely ignorant. Okay? And then you go on about High Times magazine. You know, when I got to be honest with you, I've never heard of you before, never seen one of your videos. I came across it when I was looking to learn a song from Nugent that my band's going to do. And I first watched your video, and I'm thinking, my God, this guy acts like a pompous ass that thinks he's smarter than everybody else. And I tried to give you a fair shake, so I watched a couple of your other videos. It didn't change my mind. You didn't change my mind. And I suggest you find out who's behind High Times Magazine and who started High Times Magazine, you know. That tells me a lot about your sources and which side you're on, and how you're probably a liberal, left-leaning Democrat, you know. All right, and then you say that you imply that he's racist, and that's laughable because you know, Nugent's known for praising the Funk Brothers band, and I'm not talking about how he calls his band the Funk Brothers. I'm talking about the real Funk Brothers band, you know, and anybody that knows anything about music knows who the Funk Brothers band is, and I'm sure Nugent, I know he does. Okay? The Funk Brothers band is actually, there's a good DVD out about them called Standing in the Shadows of Motown. Now, the Funk Brothers band is the Motown band. And that's funny that you'd say he's a racist, because there's only a couple white guys in the whole band. But Ted's a racist, right? Let's see. And then here's the part that's funny, because you look like a bitter musician who's never played before, you know, for more than 400 people when you insult his song titles and lyrics. I found that extremely funny that you would do that, you know. And then you go on and you talk about his penis. I can see why you do that, you know, considering you probably don't have one, or any balls for that matter. You got a little penis envy on Ted, do you? And then you go belittle the charity work that he does. Let me ask you something, John Henry. When was the last time you played for a wounded soldier? It's been a week for me. And then you really just threw me aback when you talk about the theft of his own child support for his own children. Gee, John Henry, how far deep down into the pit did you have to go to dig that up? You know, can we have some facts? Can you document any of this stuff? You know, give us some sources, give us some names. Because if you don't, that's just hearsay. And I don't run a courtroom, but apparently you do. You think you're a judge. Seems like you do. And then you go on at the end and you talk about how Ted Nugent represents everything that's evil and wrong and whatever with America. Let me tell you what's wrong with America. There's nothing wrong with America. Nothing. I love my country. Does this insult you? Do you get mad when you see this? I think you do. You act like you do. You want to know what's funny is you talk about how he says hateful things, but boy, you said a lot of hateful things. And for being in your 40s, you had to know better. See, I'm in my 40s too, and I was around in the 70s, and I have a little different recollection of how big Ted Nugent was back in the 70s than you do. You know, if you want to do something for your country, why don't you start trying to bring people together instead of trying to spew your hate and divide everybody? That's what's really wrong with this country. That's what's wrong with this country. It's people like you that spread your hate, and it's unattractive. You come off looking like a high pompous ass that thinks he's better than everybody else. Let me tell you something, John Henry. You're not that smart. You know, I went to college too. You know, I know my history, the real history, before the liberals changed the books. So, all it does is tell me that you're a bitter, washed-up old musician who's never played for more than 400 people, and judging from the audio on your videos, you wouldn't last 1 minute behind a soundboard of anybody that I know. Anybody. And just you come off looking like a bitter musician, that's all. You know, and that's probably why you've never made it, after all your years of experience, that you've never made it anywhere in the music business, and you've had to resort to hate spewed messages on YouTube. This is my first one on YouTube. I've never been on YouTube or made a video for it, but I want to thank you for getting me started, because it's guys like you that make Americans like me want to do this and take it from a real musician.